Welcome to another edition of Dream Up, coming to you from KBF 88.3 FM in Little Rock, nationally syndicated and internationally streamed. It's the show where a journalist, a comic, and a lawyer walked into a bar and came out with a great hour of talk about how they each achieved their dreams and their distinct walks of life, complete with interviews each week with celebrities, experts, and average Joes and Janes who've achieved their dreams and are here to talk about the obstacles they overcame to reach them. Today, our very special guest is a man who's the world's favorite couch surfer, actor turned state's witness, turned global personality, Kato Kaelin.
All right.
Oh, now, loving the Kato. Happens to be a friend, happens to be a personal friend, and actually love the guy. And honestly, it's really interesting what the world's perception of him is versus what he is. And to know him is to love him. And I wish more people knew him, So
well, they'll get to their chance today, so that's great.
I love it.
But yeah, so coming, as always, I'm one of your hosts, Carl Double Portion Kozlowski.
Double portion? Why double portion, Carl?
Because I'm supersized and I want a double portion of blessings from the Lord. I'm the reporter in this equation. I live in Little Rock, and with me from Hollywood is
Ron, the mirthful married man, Pearson. So I'm the comedian in the equation that walked into the bar and loving life here. And with us, replacing our lawyer, happens to be all the way from Dallas, Texas. Go ahead.
Todd, big ticket Turner. Still not sure where this ticket's going to get me in, but I'm holding it in my wallet every day, waiting to use it.
That just sounds wrong. I'm thinking there's something nefarious and illegal going on in how you're going to use that ticket, sir.
Hopefully it's a get out of jail free card or get into something good. Man, I'm glad to be here today. I'm so excited to talk to Kato. Like, this is going to be great. Today's going to be a great episode.
I'm digging it. By the way, so we just had Christmas, guys. We just got through the gauntlet of it, and how, I'm just wondering how Christmas worked out for you guys, and relating it to our show Dream Up. It's really funny because when you're a kid, you have all these dreams of these great gifts you want to get. Once you've kind of dreamed up your life and you got a lot in your life, it's like, what do you want for Christmas? And then what you want totally changes, right? Like things, because I can already buy what I want. So what is it that's going to make me happy? And it's so funny when you're, I don't know, I just feel like I'm getting older, because I could open a present now and go, socks and underwear. Yes, thank you, man. I needed that. It's all the little things you don't think about. When you're a kid, you'd be pissed off for years. They don't care about me. They got me socks and underwear. I mean, it's completely the opposite. What do you guys think on that? What'd you get?
Well, I'm telling you, Ron, you're on to something, because I thought about that the other day. When I was younger, I wanted things just to have them. Now that I'm older, I want things to use. So when I get something I can use, I'm excited. Socks and underwear.
You're not talking about girlfriends, are you?
No. Just undergarments, But the things that you can use mean something to you, and they're of a value. And then things just to have, they just go on the shelf in the closet. And you don't want those anymore.
You know what's so funny? My friend just sent me a gift card, $50, super nice. A guy that I know fairly well, but only when he comes into town from another state. So I see him once every year and a half or something like that for a night or two or whatever. And him and his wife sent me a gift card, $50. I'm like, what am I going to get for $50 that I want? And I realized, I got this ashtray for my cigars from Rocky Patel. So it has the RP, my initials, in the middle. So people think I have my own ashtray. It's like, oh, what a great gift, man. That was great.
That's brilliant. It's funny. You said, what am I going to do with a $50 gift card? The first thing that entered my mind is I just going to give away two $25 gift cards.
That's kind of genius. But that $50 gift card, they'll probably charge you $5. So you get two $22.50 gift cards, probably.
Not my gift. That's their problem.
Well, with my family, everybody's like, they're not imaginative, so we all just trade a bunch of gift cards around. But I do have a story to tell about something kind of funny that happened for my holiday that, in a way, is perfect for an episode featuring Kato. Since he was the world's most famous house guest, I went the week before Christmas on a road trip for 5 days. I went to see my sister in Kentucky and her family. And then I went to see on the way home my brother in Memphis. But in between, I stayed 2 nights coming and going on the trip at the house of a friend in Nashville. And so, anyways, this friend's house was fantastic house, incredibly cozy. The bed is just amazing to sleep in. And I have an uneventful first night. I just sleep really well. And they say at the end of in the morning, hey, you know what? We're going to be out of town Friday on. Here's the keys to the front door. Stay at the house on the way back so you don't have to worry about a hotel. Just leave the keys in the back porch. So I'm like, oh, okay. What could go wrong? Well, I passed back through that Sunday night and I get in the house and everything's quiet. I'm enjoying a bowl of cereal. I fall asleep on their couch. And like at midnight, I wake up to the alarms going off. Like I've never heard alarms like this in my life. I mean, this was not the. I'm running.
Was someone breaking in, Carl?
No, but
why'd the alarms go off?
I'm trying to tell a story. Yes. So I'm running around the kitchen.
By the way.
What?
Take your time, by the way.
Well, there is a funny story to it, but okay.
Keep going, Carl.
Way to ruin the show. I'll make a note of where to cut.
Keep going.
Yeah, so I'm running around and there's, I haven't set anything off smoke-wise. I can't figure the damn thing out. And I'm calling him. My ears are being popped. I'm calling the guy 3 times. He doesn't answer. And I call my brother. I said, what do I do? And he goes, get the hell out of the house. And I was like, why? And he says, because if the cops come and your friend's not bothering to answer the phone, you're going to jail. And so I was running around the house, grabbing my bags at midnight, covering my ears because I'm going deaf from this thing. And I just like ran the hell out of the house and had to find a hotel. I'm driving all over Nashville until 1:30 in the morning.
And yeah, I wish the cops would have come while he was running out of the house with a bag.
I know. I had 2 giant bags that I went in with, and I'm leaving again with them. And I don't know how I got away with it, but I called the guy. The guy finally called me in the morning, and he goes, "Oh yeah, I forgot to tell you. We didn't think it would happen again, but 10 days ago, for no reason, the alarms went off. We don't even pay an alarm service to monitor us. It's just an old alarm left over when we bought the house." And so he's like, yeah, we'll have to look into that. I'm like, yeah, that'd be a good idea.
You might want to look into that.
After that, the alarms were still going like 8 hours later in his house. It's crazy.
Well, I love it. I love it. Yeah. I love it. That Carl. Well, so that gift cost you $125 a night staying in the Hampton Inn.
Yeah, I wish I was in the Hampton. I stayed in some, thank God it wasn't like Bedbug Motel, but it was just barely above that. All the good hotels were sold out. Nice. So I stayed somewhere for $86 behind a gas station, and it's a no-name hotel.
Well,
yeah.
Unbelievable. Time to get on the quote of the day, boys. Let's get on to the quote of the day. I love this one, guys. Perfect for Dream Up. It really resonates with me anyway. I'll see what you guys think. But quote is, we must suffer from one of 2 pains, the pain of discipline or the pain of regret. The difference is discipline weighs ounces while regret weighs tons. Holy smokes, man. That one hits me right between the eyes because I think my whole life was spent working really hard and it's finally paid off in my life. So I feel like I've lived it. Like I learned the discipline. But what's funny is because I'm ADHD, there's tons of stuff I am disorganized and not disciplined about at all. And so I'm actually later in my life, like even in the last year where I'm doing all these different projects, I'm finding the ones that I'm getting more disciplined to the minute detail. I'm getting really successful in them. Whereas before I just had a million projects going at once and some would take off and some wouldn't, but none of them got the attention they all deserve, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So that's why this quote hits me. What do you guys think, man?
Well, you know, it's interesting. You know, when I heard this quote the first time, you know, normally you think about savings or health, right? But here in the Western world, we have the idea of pulling ourselves up by our bootstraps to achieve something, but not all cultures have that. Some people just try to exist peacefully. But whatever it is, whatever you want, whether it's health or healthy relationships or career, even if you're a believer, like kingdom work, whether you're chasing money or fame, whatever you do, everything needs energy. All endeavors need some of your energy. What you were just talking about, Rana, where do you put your energy? You can either
I
directly
put it in Mountain Dew.
Yeah, right. But you know what? It's either wisely or foolishly used. But I like this idea of the one brick at a time, build something, that discipline, like whatever it is, whatever you're aiming at, one brick at a time, whether you are aiming at one particular thing, or in your case, like you said, Ron, there's sort of the life pie. Have you heard of the life pie, right? Like you spend part of your time looking at yourself, your career, your spiritual walk, your wife, your family, your aspirations.
Right.
And sometimes we're
now you're so spread out. Each slice of the pie is so thin that
That's
how does
right.
how does it get enough attention to learn discipline in that area?
I think you just hit it, is that pain of regret is like, oh, I've been putting too much to this side and not enough to this side. But if you put those daily deposits into all the life pies, like you don't have that regret. Otherwise, when one's wide and one piece is small, that's when the regret comes, right?
You know what I'm going to bring to that? You just said daily deposits into each life pie, but if you got 20 pieces of pie that you got to give that to, I've been learning as I get older about the difference between being present and being in the future or being stuck in the past. And like when you have to be present. If you're present for even that 40 minutes that you're giving to that piece of pie, it's going to be a killer piece of pie every day if you do it. You know what I'm saying? And I think I spent a good chunk of my life actually so afraid that I was going to not survive, that I was always in the future. So I was doing a million things at once and never really present, even in relationships, which is kind of crazy.
I think you just nailed something. Is if you have too many slices of the pie to put deposits in, you've got to remove some things from the pie, because you've got to leave your health. You've got to leave your family. You've got to leave the main things. And if you're not putting daily deposits into those things, then you need to get rid of something else.
You know what's funny is now we're going to get spiritual on it, but God said specifically, put this first and everything else will take care of itself.
That's exactly right.
Which is pretty crazy to think, oh, if I just make God, and that's where you said the pie, you know, if he was just the center of each of those pieces and I put him first in each one of those pieces, it kind of takes care of itself, which is also being very present because you're connected to God and yourself and others, you know, real directly. I don't know. That's pretty fascinating, guys.
Well, I think what you just said, Ron, that just changed my answer in a way, because I realized, well, I'll just say my answer had been that in the past, for example, with stand-up, I was in LA, but I didn't put in as much work as the people that, you know, put in, you know, that become big stars. They go every night to the clubs. They're constantly writing jokes. And this made me realize, you know, I was really scattered. I was also reporting, and I was doing a radio show, and I was doing this instead of picking one thing or a couple things to really hone in on. And so, you know, that would have been the discipline that, okay, maybe it would have been some extra work making the effort at the clubs to show up every night, or, you know, that kind of thing. But then I have a bigger regret, you know, wishing, well, geez, what if I had made it bigger? You know, so putting in the work on the small as you're going, the little bits of work is what keeps you from having the frustration later in life of not quite getting what you wanted.
You know,
but you know, but like what the part of your answer that made me think differently is that it was since March that I finally really had my come to Jesus moment and said, God, show me the way. And then boom, all of a sudden, all sorts of comedy things and this radio show and blah, 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 a job, a car, a girlfriend, all that fell into place once I said to God, Okay, I'm going to put you first. You show me the way.
Well, living proof right there.
Amen to
Yeah.
that.
So, hey, I really am touched by this one. If you want to comment, listening to us, email us at dreamupshow.com and give us your comments on that quote of the day and or a quote you'd like to hear on the show. We'd love to hear from you. So comments on the one from today, anyone you want to hear in the future, please email us, dreamupshow.
Yeah, actually, if you want to email, it's dreamupshow@gmail.com. And if you want to, this is your first time listening or you missed some episodes, you can catch all the episodes at our website, dreamupshow.com. But if you want to email us, dreamupshow@gmail.com.
There's so many good episodes in the past too.
Yeah.
We're just, and we got some great guests coming up. So I'm excited. Let's move on to the news quickly, boys.
Okay, so this week we bring you stories usually from the week's news about dreams achieved or attempted and failed. But this week it's kind of wackier. So now the news. So our lead story this week, it's sort of like a Christmas dream come true for Ron. Arby's now has fry flavored vodka. It's the latest fast food stunt that makes a surprisingly killer Bloody Mary. Ron, this one's for you. They say that a company called Tattersall Distilling has made a French fry flavored vodka that has two different flavors that resemble the curly fries and crinkle cut fries, and they mash it up with vodka and into a vodka that makes you taste like you're having your favorite fries from Arby's. What do you think, Ron?
I just think when I get pulled over, I'm going to go, no, officer, I am not drunk. I just had large fry. a couple of them.
Or you can tell the officer you want fries with that.
Oh my goodness. Hey, do you like to drink, but you're worried your cholesterol isn't spiking enough? Arby's vodka.
Hey, no wonder they called homemade liquor mash, because now they got
Wow.
I'm guessing somebody in Louisiana came up with this one, because you got to love Louisiana where you can just drive through. They have, for those people, we have Louisiana listeners here on the show. So congratulations. The only state I know of where you can actually pick up your liquor in a drive-through for everyone in the car. I can't believe you can drink and drive in Louisiana, basically. Supposedly not the driver, but it's crazy. I love Louisiana. I mean, what are rules? We don't need rules. We're Louisiana.
They're on their own time.
Yes.
It's funny.
Yes.
You know, where does this trend end? Right. It started with the Reese's peanut butter cup, the chocolate falling into the peanut butter, and then all of a sudden we got Tex-Mex, and then hamburgers turned into chicken sandwiches, wonton tacos, spam sushi. Like what's next here? Roast beef water, Dorito bananas. Like
no,
where does
Arby's vodka fries?
Oh, where does it stop?
Oh my gosh, I love it. Hey, you know what's kind of cool though, tying it into Dream Up? It's all marketing, right? If there's a million vodkas out there, how am I going to stick up from other vodkas? I'm going to do something that makes people talk about it on a radio show. It's like so unique. It's so like, wow, it tips your head as soon as you hear it. We're not going to forget this one, you know? And how many people are just going to hear it and go, well, I got to try that.
No, it's 100% right, which is why you're going to pull up to McDonald's and get the Big Mac tequila and the Chick-fil-A rosé.
Yes.
Really soon.
By the way, where did the Irishman go on vacation? To a different bar. Come on. Hello. Well, I love it. My daughter gets cotton candy flavored grapes. They have cotton candy flavored grapes.
What?
Yes.
Really?
Yes, she gets them all the time. They're really good. Yeah.
Wow.
Fusion.
So and my favorite food's crab. So I can't wait till they come up with a crab flavored vodka, because
Yeah, you know, I saw it working at Walmart. There's like a new type of, you know how they have taffy apples? Well, for Christmas, they've been selling apples that are like covered in, just drizzled in layer after layer of white chocolate and dark chocolate and they have fruit flavored stuff, and it's all layered, drizzled on top of each other. And I'm thinking that cannot be good for you.
Carl,
But then, yeah.
I've been getting these for my family, 8 of those kinds of all the different flavored caramel apples, 8 a week. And every night we cut them up and share them all through COVID.
Jeez.
Thank you, Rocky Mountain Chocolate Factory.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. Well, I just find it funny that they're, that they say, oh, just 180 calories. And then it says 4 servings though. Like 1 apple is 4 servings. Like who the heck is going to look at that thing and just eat 1/4 of it? Come on.
Carl, since when have you been looking at calories?
He likes to know. He likes to know.
Yes,
If Carl was a calorie counter, he'd need a supercomputer next to him.
Okay, thank you. Well, guys, I think we should probably get to our esteemed guest. What do you say?
I love it. I love it. I can't wait.
All right.
Well, I love the fact that we actually have in studio with us today. He actually has become a good friend of mine over the last 15 years, I think, about 15 years.
Oh, I think even longer than that.
Yeah, I think so. Actually, it was.
It's over 20 years.
Nice.
Ron, over 20 years.
Jeez, time
Come on.
flies. And you haven't changed a bit.
Time flies when you're throwing clocks around. You know that.
So he's a talented actor, world famous couch surfer turned state's witness to media personality plus. You guys, he's traveled all over the world doing Wizard World and Comic Cons, and he's now creative director of Get Me Out Productions. He happens to be my good friend. Ladies and gentlemen, you know him as state's witness, hostile witness, Kato Kaelin.
Oh!
Welcome to the Hostile Witness.
Love it. Good to meet Carl and Todd. And stories are incredible. Carl, call me up when I have trouble sleeping. The alarm story, please. Carl, enough. Geez, now I only get 2 minutes for the show. Carl.
Carl has a way of making great stories last for a very long time, even though there's always a great payoff.
There's a payoff, yeah.
It's his intro.
Carl, you are a dream up. I love it.
Oh, thank you.
You got it, my friend. It's so good to be here. Ron, it's great to see you. I haven't seen you in a little bit. But honestly, he says some great things about me. But as you guys know, this guy is top shelf, kindest man, nothing but benevolence. He's always helping others. And honestly, this is why the guy is so successful. And for the listeners out there, I think Ron is the example of paid forward. He's always giving, and I don't know how to explain to you guys, but honored to be on the show and honored to be your friend for over 20 years and still going strong.
He talks like that because he still owes me 10 grand, but that's okay. It was a tough night at the poker table.
Stock tip.
Right.
Ron was reading those quotes earlier. I kept going, I just got one from State Farm today. I like your quotes better.
Hey, but look, so Kato, for those people listening that go, Kato Kaelin, where do I know that name from? But they can't quite place it. You were an actor here in Los Angeles to some levels of success. You know, there's tons of people in this town that are here and making a decent living, maybe not killing it, but a decent living, going from a small part in film to television show to commercial. You were doing that. You became friends with Nicole Brown Simpson, and you ended up living at OJ Simpson's house.
Yep. First with Nicole.
Yes.
So I was living at the Gretna Greenhouse. So people get confused with the story. My relationship with them did not start till 1993. Anything before that, I didn't know them.
Yes.
Obviously, I knew the name OJ Simpson, but she lived at Gretna Green. I lived there for 6 months. Then she moved to the Bundy house, and I was not part of that. That's when I went to OJ's. So
that's when you went to OJ.
Yeah. So it was two different. I lived on both sides. That's why I sort of had the room with a view.
Yeah.
I call it that. So I knew how that side. I knew how she lived. I knew how he lived.
And you were very good friends. Like you were very close with her.
Yeah.
And she's the one that said, "Hey, OJ, let Kato live there for a while." And so he said, "Sure."
Yeah, I think they talked about it, but I think it was they saw, in hindsight now, I think OJ had me looked into with private investigators before that to see who this Kato guy was.
Because he was jealous.
I think so. But I had no relationship with her except being a friend. The kids loved me. The kids loved me enough to name the dog Kato. So very confusing. And because I also drink out of a bowl. But that's what really happened. So then OJ had come out a few times. Hey, when you're looking for a place, just move in. I've got 4 bungalows. So I lived in one of the bungalows.
Right.
That's how it all started.
Right. So, by the way, where'd the name Kato come from?
Kato is from Bruce Lee. And it's Brian Kato Kaelin. Bruce Lee, of course, if you guys know the Green Hornet, they've been remixed with Seth Rogen. But the original was Bruce Lee as Kato. And then people relate Kato to me. And then others got it from Bruce Kwan, who was the Kato in the Pink Panther movies, which is a not now, Kato. So I stuck with that, and I did a little of the Jeet Kune Do growing up. That's the karate form of martial arts.
Yeah. Well, so obviously you're a guy who's you were living with Nicole at Gretna Green. Then you moved into one of OJ's bungalows.
Yep.
But you're an actor the whole time. You're in films and you're in commercials and you're in TV shows here and there.
I started a business around with a actor was on General Hospital named Grant Kramer, great guy. Grant and I started a casting business, and we cast ourselves in day parts. He was on a soap, so for me it was getting these parts to keep up my SAG insurance, Screen Actors Guild, and it was the most incredible job. So I wrangled. We had extras, so I was making a good living. Yeah, and I was doing that and working a lot of B films. You know, I worked a lot with at that time it was Harry Hamlin, and he was on LA Law. And it was Lorenzo Lamas. So a lot of them, but I would see their contracts sometimes. I was blown away how much money they would get for even these films. I was blown away of how much money. Honestly, like you buy houses, many houses. And I was like, holy cow, who's watching these movies?
Right, right.
Yeah. So it was a great job. And I got in charge of wrangling amid so many people. And I'm sort of a high energy guy. I think people automatically assume that I'm always on drugs. I've never done a drug in my life. I'm just
okay. So I'm going to get to this.
Loves. I live off the vibe of other people. Yes. And I love bringing happiness.
And so I'm going to get to this. So
you're going to get to what, getting drugs?
No,
Ron, please.
No. Listen,
no drugs, baby.
Listen. You had a life going, and you know how cool is it? Oh yeah, I live at OJ's house.
Yeah.
And yeah, I wrangle. So you're meeting, probably actresses and models, and you're hanging out, and you have a great life, and then it must have hit you like a ton of bricks. Like, what do you mean, Nicole is dead?
Right.
How did you find out?
Well, I just did a show recently with I became friends with some of the detectives, and one of the detectives is my friend to this day. Was Tom Lang, and I told Tom this story just a few weeks ago. How I found out it was there was a knock at my door with 4 detectives coming to my bungalow.
Yes,
I had no idea. I just saw 4 guys at my door. It was like 5 a.m. or so. I just let them in. I didn't ask her anything. I just said, "What are these guys doing at my door?"
Yeah, and
then they said. Los Angeles Police Department were detectives. Then they said, "What did you wear last night?" I said, "What?" I said, then I immediately thought that OJ's plane crashed because I knew he went to Chicago.
Yeah. And
I didn't think you're not thinking of a murder. And then they went and they checked all my clothes, Furman, and then they started asking me questions. And I said to them, Ron, I said, I kept thinking we had an earthquake last night because see this picture? You don't have a window here.
Yeah.
I had a picture on my wall and the picture moved. Yeah. And that was these 3 thumbs, but it was thumbs that moved the picture. I said, it probably is nothing, but that's where they found the bloody glove. And
that's where OJ jumped over the wall and hit allegedly.
Yeah.
Hit the wall.
Everybody has these theories that the glove fell out. But the point was, so
how'd you find out?
Yeah. So then I found out when Tom Lang was on the phone, and Arnell was OJ's daughter, broke down, sort of couldn't say it, so he took the phone, and then I overheard it after they brought me into the main house and just said that her daughter was died. He didn't use the word murder. He just said she's dead.
Oh, that's got to be hard to hear because she was obviously a very close friend of yours. And
well, that, and then you have 40 detectives, and you're going, this is much bigger than I'm not Columbo, but it was the much bigger. It's like, what is going on? Something happened.
Yeah.
And then, I was taken to the police department.
So you were taken to the police department.
Yeah. And they said, watch, this thing that sticks out of my mind, I just never will forget it. When I was walking out, they said, watch your step. And it's like that. And there were blood drops. So they were seeing, I think after watching so many forensic files, detectives are so good at what they do. They always want to see what reaction a person would have.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh my God. So I saw there's actual blood. And then I went to the police department. It seemed like for at least 8 hours. I was just in a room.
Wow. So, my point of this is we all have these lives that we go and we plan and we do all this. And you got hit in the side of the head on a random, what day of the week was it? Do you remember?
Actually, I don't. I think it was Sunday. I think it was a Sunday.
Okay, so a random Sunday, and all of a sudden your life, there's no going back. It is now changed forever.
Mm-hmm.
And you went from this guy that, who's this guy in the stand, to being made a hostile witness, to being made a person that a lot of people felt sunk the case, to also a lot of people maybe don't have respect. And so I'm just going to say, from my point of view, when I met you, I had thoughts about who this guy was from what I had seen. I grew up with a drug dealing brother. Mm-hmm. And my drug dealing brother used to do things for the very wealthy up in the Seattle Bellevue area. Mm-hmm. And I go, oh, I've seen this play out before. He gets to stay on the couch at a really super nice mansion because he runs. And then I go, oh, the two of them, you went with OJ just before the murder to Burger King.
No, it was at McDonald's.
McDonald's.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm like, really? OJ needs to go to McDonald's.
Right.
I know exactly what this is. My brother did all that. So I had in my mind that you were probably supplying drugs, that this is probably a meth-fueled murder, that this is, that I incorrectly. And I also believe he might have even sunk the case. Coming to the point when years later, a few years after that, you're guest starring on the Norm show with Norm Macdonald. I work on the show.
Right.
And I actually happen to be guest starring that episode too, I believe. But I did the audience warm up for all the seasons. And then after the show, Norm and I and a couple other people like to go out, and Kato, come along with us. And lo and behold, by the end of that conversation, you're nothing like any of the things I believe. You've never done drugs, right? Like me. I've never done a drug in my life.
Which makes me how you thought that.
Yeah.
I didn't know anybody was thinking that because I didn't know that life. And you said you grew up with a brother. So I didn't know that life. So when people said that, it was new to me, like, what? Because I knew who I was. So when you hear it of being accused of something that is the furthest thing of who you are, it really affects you. It's like, that's not who I am. But people in their mind, like yourself, they have it set up in their mind because of maybe a past experience of, how you said, oh, I know how this plays out.
Yeah.
So I wonder how many people were thinking that thought. I didn't think those thoughts because that is not how I lived. I grew up in Wisconsin. I grew up with
Go Packers.
Six. Yeah, I grew up with six brothers, in our family. And it was just a pretty strict Catholic family. So it was all new to me, all these people. And I never saw a divorce in my life till I came to California. So it was really.
You've never seen a divorce in your life?
No, there wasn't. No,
wow,
it was
that's
very
beautiful.
Different.
It's beautiful
there.
though.
Back when I was growing up,
yeah.
It was just everybody was together. You never even heard of divorce. But I was blown away, and it affected me so much when shows like Hard Copy.
Stop. How old are you? Are you like 400 years old?
I was a virgin till 24. If that tells you anything.
Is that true?
It's true.
Oh, wow.
That's another podcast. Dream up. Well, lots of dreaming.
Okay, so back to what we were talking about. That basically you're this guy that's doing successful. This event happens that you really had nothing to do with. And now you're painted out. I know people I'm with you a lot in public in different places, and people have one of two reactions to you. And it's either I love this guy, or you honestly get a lot of I hate this guy.
I think it's better now because of time passing. I think I've done enough. I mean, there's still people that have their opinion because I see it on Twitter or I see it on social media.
Yeah.
But it's just
dissipated.
It's completely dissipated. I would say I 89% so much is positive.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. And I can,
because it wasn't that way before.
No. It was split. And, people hated because people had their decisions of what they thought I was and how I sunk the case or not. It's the furthest thing from the truth. It's cathartic that I became friends with detectives, and even the detectives are saying that this is them talking, not me.
Yeah.
That I was a best witness, that I was her witness. And I was like, so open. I met with the prosecution over and over. I was the prosecution witness, but I'm still blown away.
I still like to call you a hostile witness.
Yeah,
Todd has a question.
So, Kato, this is sort of related, but not exactly. Well, here's what I wanted to ask you, and that is, you're thrust into instant fame, right? I mean, you were known, but you weren't known.
Yeah, no, I got it backwards. I got fame for the,
right. And that's complicated. And so, but besides me hearing you were raised right and you're really an overall nice guy, my real question to you is, what do you think prepared you to deal with that instant fame? Like, what part of your personality trait prepared you for that mega jump? And then the second follow-up is, what did you wish you had? Like, that had to be hard. You were young. You probably now know way more now than you did then. What did you wish you would have been able to take into that leap?
Well, I think I had so many, I was at that time, people, when I was going through it, everybody was saying, do you need a psychologist? Do you need to see a doctor? Or do you have suicidal tendencies? I said, God, no. I mean, I was talking to my family. My father had passed away, but my family and still my best friends are these guys I went to high school with. And it's support. It's sort of like I was in the news every single day, and and Ron knows it because he's a performer with pretty famous. You can't believe that hype, and you can't, you're in the news every day. People, you've got to stay who you are. And believe me, my family would not let me not become something else. And I think that kind of prepares you for it. It wasn't so much, I always knew, I swear to you, I always knew my goal coming from Wisconsin. It's like, oh, I'm going to be famous and all that. And so it's sort of like, okay, I'm famous. Now what?
Right.
Because I got famed for the absolute wrong reason. And David Letterman, I was, and Jay Leno, I was always the butt of the joke many times. Letterman was very kind, but I was doing some comedy and I was doing lots of acting, auditions for commercials. And the toughest part was I was Kato from a double homicide. And as much as I have to bring that point up, it's very hard to be known for murder and try to go and change that into making people laugh with something else. So talking about it, like I said, it's cathartic.
Well, I actually think that the thing I really respect about Kato is your ability to bounce back. So you were all of a sudden, a lot of people would have been thrown into a world of shame, a world of, I want to hide. I just want to hide. I'm going to go away and be where things are safe, So rural Wisconsin, where people go, oh no, that's just Kato, and they're not judging you constantly. Mm-hmm. So you have incredibly thick skin, but you also have this resilience. You have this infectious personality, which is, I said it earlier today when you came up, I go, I can't not think of Kato and not just smile like, oh, Kato's coming. This is going to be great.
Very infectious. They call me COVID.
Yeah.
You know what, Ron, I want to couple with that observation. Yeah, I would clearly say to know Kato would be to love him. Like, he definitely has a great personality. I don't know him. I've just met you, but I know Ron well enough, and he's talked good about you for 20 years. I mean, I've heard about you for 20 years. So I feel like the proof's in the pudding here. But somewhere along the way, and I guess during the trial, after the trial, even for decades now, somewhere along the way, you had to say, how am I going to parlay this? Clearly, it's hard because you had to go uphill. But somewhere along the way, was it a publicist? Was it your family? Was it a lot of nights of zig and zagging? Like, how did you think you're going to take advantage of this?
Well, I think, Todd, that I had offers. I went to, I had a radio show back in Wisconsin. So one of the first things I got was my own radio show. And it wasn't so much parlay. They approached me and I said, people are really downing me. I'm gonna nail it. So even today, when I go, this is like 25 years later, people go, "You had the best radio show. It was the fastest 2 hours of radio." So I loved doing the radio. I was teamed up with a comic. We'd write the bits. It was the same station with Howard Stern, and it was tough because Howard was before me, and he at one point he just hated me, and he was always. I was on the same station as him, and he hated me. I had to have security. I had death threats.
Are you serious?
Oh my God, it was so bad. I had security walking me in my
So
car.
you had more death threats from Howard Stern's people than you did from
the faxes. I have some of the faxes still at home of people saying, "Oh, it would break my heart," because I loved Stern at that time. But finally, Stern had me. I came out to New York. I did his show, and I think like it just changed completely. He and Robin Quivers, I think they liked me a lot.
I'm guessing because they met you. They finally
met me
go,
in
this
person. It's totally different.
Yep.
So I did I think I did a show 4 times or 3 or 4 times, but it was different. And that day I did the first time, he invited me to come out to his premiere of Private Parts. And I couldn't make it, but I knew that he would not invite me to his
He didn't like
premiere if he didn't like me.
Here's my question. You think God's real quick? You think God's trying to get your attention with all these things that keep happening?
Well, it's, you know what? Believe it or not, I'm a very much, you wouldn't think, a very much God in my heart, and it really is because of how I was growing up. And everything's happened because of God. So I always dedicate and I say, you know what? I'm living and breathing. I've got a roof over my head, and everything's going to be okay. And I think as one of the verses is, you know, if God's feeding the birds, I have nothing to worry about.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, I think things are going to be okay. Do I get mad at God a lot? Did I? Completely. But if I don't think God has a sense of humor, then I think we're crazy. We don't think that God understands humor. So, and I went through really, really tough times of just being alone and crying and just going, but you know what? Adversity, I think, makes you so much stronger. And I know that when you're in your very, very bottom, something just happens. And it just like, I made it, and I start seeing all these good things kind of happening. It's just part of life.
So go ahead, Carl.
I mean, I was going to say, I had a question that was kind of tied to what Todd was asking, but I'd also have a quick little thing to our listeners about how I met you once, which speaks to your faith. Was that I was okay. So I have an aunt who went to church in Beverly Hills Catholic Church,
Yeah, good
and
shepherd.
a couple of years after all the hoopla with the trial, we go to her during Christmas season. Maybe it was the Christmas Mass even. We go to that church, and she says, "Keep your eyes open. You never know who you're going to see." And I was thinking, "Oh, I'm going to see like Harrison Ford or something like that." And so when it comes to time for the sign of peace, as I turn around and say, "You know, peace be with you," and it was you. And I remember my eyes popped out of my head like, "Oh my gosh!" And you just kind of smiled and had this, "Oh well," kind of a shrug, and then you said, "Peace be with you."
Yeah.
And you know, and I never forgot that.
That was
I
a
was
Good
like,
Shepherd Church. Good Shepherd and
yeah, yeah.
Como Ryan the priest. That's the only church that you have a choice of wine. I'm kidding. Let's go with the super salad.
Yeah, what
That's
year?
awesome.
Hills.
What year communion do you want?
But what I want to ask is tied to that.
Actually, I sent the wine back. Oh, the priest is mad.
What's funny is Kato would show up to all 7 services in the day. He'd be hammered by the end of the day.
Hey, it's an
Well, no,
Irish
but-
priest. What do you want?
But what I'm wondering is when you're having that level of fame, according to Wikipedia, when I was researching it today, it said that you at one point in a national poll had 3 times the name recognition of Vice President Al Gore. Like 74% of Americans knew who
And
you
Carl,
were.
I actually invented the internet.
Yeah. So I mean, like, what was it like where everywhere you go, you have schmucks like me in the middle of mass going, "Oh my goodness, it's
So
Kato," you know, and you
know,
just
so
want to
putting that Quran in
pray.
perspective, this is the God's honest truth story, and because
Yeah,
and I don't say stuff to make my ego big or anything, but I
Sure.
tell what other people say. My publicist, that I got a publicist. First of all, Kato has people. That was on like Larry Sanders says on the Larry Sanders, like Kato's got. But I had a publicist, Lee Salters. Now Lee
Lee was
Salters,
a big time.
he had Frank
He was-
Sinatra, Michael Jackson, so they had me, and he would see me out in a crowd. He goes, "Kato, you got the same reaction in these little cities like a Michael Jackson. But people were so kind. When I hit like Terre Haute, Indiana, I went to a mall and it was 10,000 people. I was even going, this is insanity. But I
Isn't
try
it
to
odd
remember
that Terre
names.
Haute is the center for one of the world's largest federal penitentiaries?
Oh,
So
is it
there's something
really?
about you in prisons. Really,
I didn't know that,
there's a
but I went to a
connection.
mall. It wasn't a prison. That's where Larry Bird was from. Went to his restaurant. I'll never forget. But I went to these certain openings that kept going, wow. And then I did the Kentucky Derby and so many events. And that's when I realized that Derby had a lot of the most A-list people that were there.
Derby's a blast.
They hated me.
Really?
And I was just like, oh, because I read the paper about certain actors. I won't mention names, but people I loved saying, oh, it's a disgrace that he was there. And I'm going, oh my God, I was invited by the Anita Madden. She throws the biggest party.
Yeah.
I was her date. And I was there for just to have fun. And I was like, good energy. And then it was just certain people that hated me. But one person that really hated me was Geraldo Rivera. Geraldo and I ended up being the best of buddies when he met me in person. I did an event with him. I stayed at his house in New Jersey a few times. I went on his yacht. But he even said, like you, Ron, he said, like, I am really sorry that I misjudged the person who you are.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but then again, if you know who you are, I think you just gotta, I'm not going to hate this person because this person doesn't know me, but I really never hated him.
Honestly, but the pain honestly, it just says a lot for you. There's something about you. You're like a happy warrior. Like, I'm going to keep marching on, and you just are always, you're always happy enough. I mean, and you mentioned those times when you felt alone and you cried and how do these people hate me this much? But there's obviously, I think being raised right was really important. Knowing God and knowing God has you.
It's all family life. And honestly, in any situation, even today, it's how you're raised. And I think it revolves around violence. If you don't have the education, you don't have love around you, you do bad things. And it's just so obvious. So I think I'm all for the family, nuclear family. I think if anybody takes that away, it's awful. You have to have family because you rely on your memories. But I was just, back then I was gregarious. I loved people. When I became an introvert, it was the worst time of my life. Just to not go up, just because of what happened. You just
so
don't
you
want it because you
isolate
knew you have people that just, they wanted to harm you.
Yeah.
So, but it took a while, but I never lost who I was, even though I was an introvert. I still knew that I was right of how I felt. So
Well, what's great is you've now created a whole real industry. Like you've worked for, you work for National Lampoon. Now you're working for Get Me Out Productions. You tour the Comic Cons. You tour the Wizard World, and you do public appearance. You do all sorts of stuff.
Yeah, we do a bunch coming up these months. Get Me Out Production started. It's because of relationships again. It's I had a court show that was called
Right, you hosted. Yeah.
So that the gentleman who was the judge in the show and I became inseparable, greatest of friends.
How long was that show on?
148 episodes.
That's great.
So I did 2000. It's still on. Like you can still catch it on air, especially in Europe. It's big. That's why it's big in England. But the gentleman, Akima Nastapulo, and I say his name because we're still best of friends. He has been my biggest fan, and he started his own production company. Very wealthy man who was smart. And he said, Kato, these guys from South Carolina, Charleston, he says, I'm going to do another show. We're going to get you going. And I want you to run the production here of Get Me Out. So it's because of relationships of people that like you, that always believe in you. You always find them later in your life, they'll hire you or whatever. So it's always been great that everybody is, seeing you and getting the call to do your show. It's just people that mean something to you. They never really, you cannot see someone for a year. They never leave your life. So it's still like day one of seeing you. Same, we click just like that.
We always have fun, man. I take him to Chargers games in Los Angeles. We have so much fun because I tailgate big and we have fun.
No, that's great. All right, Kato,
I love the Charger.
I have a question that it's in the vein of what you just said. And that is, I'm sure when it comes to Hollywood, there are people who quote unquote have earned their stripes. And so they're bitter at somebody who's got fame before they did, or bigger fame, because your name is well known in America. And so people probably some people saw you as well, you just got lucky and you're not one of us kind of deal. But over time, like you said, time changes a lot. And as people get to know you, but one day you are going to pass away, and one day you're going to be on the news, and people are going to say, probably, here's his claim to fame. But what do you want them to say? What do you want to be known for? Because it's not going to be everything you've done. What do you want to be known for?
Well, there's a few things. First, I'll tell a story about Larry King, because he died, and I was a friend of Larry's. He wrote a book of what your epitaph will read. And my quote was, my 15 minutes are up, my epitaph. And they loved it so much that was the lead story on back in the day on NBC's Today Show. You know what? It's I think it's just going to be real simple though, Todd. It's just going to know me is to love me. And I think when you know someone and I think it's that simple. To know someone is to really love them. And if you knew who I was, I think it pretty much would be on, when I say love, I mean, not love in a way of, that's a great guy.
Yeah.
And I think that's what's going to, Beavis and Butthead said that about me on an episode. Kato Kaelin, he looks like the asset of a dolphin, but yeah, he's a great guy. True story. Yeah,
that's funny.
So we talk a lot about this. Normally we say we ask two questions. One is, at what point did you say I made it? But you've achieved such a level of fame, but I don't know if you could have ever said that to yourself.
No.
And then the next question we ask is, fast forward 10 years, where do you want to be? So I think probably both of those would be in the same place.
Well, I'm never going to say I made it, because that would mean I achieved it. I'm going to stop trying to achieve. But
but at some point you kind of go, wow, I set a goal and I way surpassed it. I can't even believe I'm here.
I own my own house. I think.
Come on now, Kato.
I own my own house.
Is that the condo?
Yeah. It's.
I've been there. I've been there.
Believe me, after 20 years,
That's
it's
nice.
like, wow, I own this property, and the property is just gone so much up in value. It's just like, wow, I did something smart in my life. I didn't lose on my stock or anything. So I think that made me achieve. But I think achieving is, I spent this past Christmas, in Wisconsin. I had the whole family thing of snowmobiling and having so much fun. I think that's achieving. I think that's when I made it, that I'm still very close to my family. I think there's nothing better than laughing with great friends, laughing with family. That's top.
So you when I met you, you were divorced. You have a great daughter who I love very much. And then
Tiffany, love her.
Yes, love her very much. She used to babysit my daughter, actually, and love her. And you have this long period of being single, Kato, and now you've just gotten married.
Yeah,
how did that come about? And is there a change in Kato?
I don't know if it's changed. Kato, it's so brand new, but she's from the East Coast and Beijing, far East Coast.
Wait,
She's Chinese.
She's Chinese, and it's so different. I'll do one more joke. At our wedding, though, everybody threw the rice, and she picked up and steamed it. Seriously, a little different Asian. And so I'll tell you what the great thing is. She cracks. Laughter is the biggest key. She is so funny, and I've never met someone. Her name is Shang Yi. Shang Yi is I've never met someone more driven in my life. And I think it's the culture. I see the culture of Asian. She's never not studying on the computer. She hears a word, she writes it down and has me help her say it. I mean, she speaks English. She went to a Beijing school of language, but she's learning so much the culture.
Say it with me. Vodka. French fry.
So I think that's it. And I think she's a lot younger than me. And I think I love that because it gives me that vigor. What am I? Vigor. Fries.
Vigor.
Vodka. Vigor.
Speaking of learning language, huh?
Did you bring a Russian or a Chinese girl? We're staying 2 Russian themed here.
So
Englander.
it's been great. It's been so much laughs and love. So
That's great. Well, it makes me really happy for you,
Yeah.
to be honest.
and you and,
I
and
met
you,
her.
and you met her. So
I met her.
you know, I think she's got the perfect energy for me. And I
she
think
has her own company too.
I was going to mention, like I said, she's so driven. She came up with this slipper line. And when I say slippers, it's these, they're called smiley toes, and smiley toes make your happy feet. And how apropos you're wearing smile, you can just go to her GoDaddy, and she's on Facebook under Smiley Toes. Honestly, check them out. But she invented it, she's created it, and she's always doing something. She is how I met her though. She is like the QVC. She's the model girl for the Chinese version of the QVC there.
Oh wow.
So she does a lot of the skin products, and she films that in San Gabriel, which is basically all Chinese.
So where'd you meet her?
So I was doing my Wizard World. One of the people that was going to invest it, we were about to do Shanghai, and in the Wizard World, we just did Saudi Arabia. We were going
Explain to people what Wizard World is.
At the time, Wizard World is was the largest Comic-Con traveling show. We go to every place in America, most cities. I was the MC. We had an entertainment stage. So when you're meeting actors from every DC comic or Marvel movie, A-list actors, I had an entertainment stage. We had endless entertainment from someone who went to Chicago. We had a booker in Chicago who'd get us magicians, jugglers, comics.
Did you really have jugglers?
Yeah.
And you didn't call me?
Oh, here.
How do you not do that?
You're
How do you
expensive.
not? I am
He's
expensive.
a very expensive guy, and it's well worth it, by the way. So they would have that. They would, we had at that
I'm
time.
really offended
we
you
had-
didn't call me.
we-
Kato.
For the magic, when you took me to the magic show, we had the
Magic Castle.
Magic Castle. We had a lot of our acts were from the Illusion,
Illusionist.
No, but they had their own TV show on KTLA.
Yeah. yeah.
Or actually,
Masters of Illusion.
Masters of Illusion. We had them.
So you'd hire
it was
them,
great.
but you
We had-
wouldn't hire your friend Ron.
I didn't hire. I wasn't the I always mention. I mention you everywhere I go. Arby's.
I take all that back about him being a great guy.
So yeah. So anyways, we do these shows, but now with COVID, we don't know where it stands for me, and that's why I'm working for Get Me On Production. I did that for 4.5 years, the best time of my life. And that's then I met her, and then so we had invested to China in the China market. This one of the investors said, "You've got to meet this girl. She just moved to California, Redondo Beach." I had WeChat, which is the Chinese app. We started communicating on the app. Drove down to Redondo, had an absolute ball.
You've only been with her a few times, I think, when the three of us hung out.
Yeah, and so I said to her, I go, "I think you're great. I want to stay your friend, but I'm not making this drive." It took me 2.5 hours to get there. 2.5 hours back, I said, "Let's just be friends." And then she moved to Hollywood and then moved in with me.
Oh, that's great. And by the way, is that her on WeChat right now? Is that I'm hearing her texting us every couple seconds?
No, that's my computer where I don't get the sound down. But yes, it's her.
I thought we were in a WeChat
Angel
right
just got
now.
her wings.
A whole
And her
bunch of
toes
them.
and her happy feet.
Smiley Toes.
Smiley
Check out
Toes.
Smiley Toes, though. That's
Well,
Sean.
hey, we're running out of time, guys. I apologize, but what would you like to let people know how to find you, and what are you up to appearance-wise or show-wise?
I'll be in, I don't know when this is aired, but I'll be in Key West January 28th through February 1st at a comedy club down there. Can't be too many. I forget what it's called. Michael Schwartz, though, is the comic that hired me, and I love Michael. He's fantastic. You know what I'm getting a lot of, Carl? I'm getting people that are inviting me to come to their parties. And they just see they fly me out. I'm going to do 2 of them in Atlanta
To hang out.
and maybe. So it's going to be fun. And a lot of people pick me up from the Cameo app, Kato Kaelin at Cameo / and also Instagram at Kato_Kaelin, Kaelin. Check out my stuff.
Wow,
I'm getting jobs just off social media, which I love.
that's great. All right, well, folks, we got to go. Till next time, I want to say thanks to KBF 88.3 FM Little Rock, and to my co-hosts Ron Pearson, Todd Turner, and once again to our special guest Kato Kaelin. Till next time.
Peace be with you.
And also with you.
Have a great
You,
New
Carl.
Year. All right.
Handshake.
Yeah, that's right. Have a good New Year, folks.
Oh, hey. Oh.